Generally, in Missouri divorce, if one spouse hides or recklessly spends assets, the court is going to punish them with that. One thing I do in most of mine is if there's after discovered property, let's say someone hid a bank account, it immediately becomes the property of the other party. Or I have provisions that'll be divided equally 50-50. If someone was reckless with spending during the marriage, the court's also going to consider that. Whether this be they gambled a lot away, they had a drug problem, they gifted it. The court is going to consider what happened during that marriage and how much they would have had this person not gotten rid of it recklessly. So in Missouri, if you have your separate property and it's been commingled into marital, for example, say you owned a house before and then your ex moves in and then you guys refinanced and did a whole lot, or better yet, you never refinanced and you just continue to pay the mortgage. There is going to be a marital component to that separate asset. So just because you owned it before, especially if you still had to make mortgage payments, that does not mean you're going to keep it as your separate property. If you put money into a joint account, generally the court is going to say it is marital property and is going to divide that. Also, generally, if the judge doesn't know what to do, they'll probably award a percentage and order that the home or something like that be sold. So be cautious and understand that just because you had it before doesn't mean it remained your property throughout the marriage. So in Missouri, when doing asset division, the court's going to look at the length of the marriage. If it was very short, odds are there's not much we're going to be divided. Generally, if it was less than 2 years, what you might get in retirement isn't going to be worth the cost of the quadro or the qualified domestic relation order. The longer the marriage, the more likely the court is to divide everything right down the middle. If you have a very short marriage, the court's likely going to say most of this was separate property and you'll be able to keep that. However, even if it was a short marriage, anything earned during the marriage is going to be divided. So in Missouri, unless there's a special circumstance, for example, hidden property or something like that, once you do a property division and a debt division, that order is non-modifiable. It is done. So once your asset and debt division is in place and the court has ordered that, you are stuck with that. The exceptions would be if a spouse hid money or hid debts. The court can come back and reconsider those. Generally, if a person was intentionally hiding an asset, they're going to simply just award it to the other party. So make sure you're being honest when dividing assets and debts. It's going to save you a lot of money and time in the long run. But also, make sure that you are good with the way the assets and debts are being divided because the court is not going to modify it afterwards, most likely. So in Missouri, once maintenance is waived, it can't be modified. So let's say that husband and wife get divorced, and husband on his way home stops by and buys a Powerball ticket and wins. The court is not going to go back and readjust how the property is divided. Once assets and debts have been assigned during a divorce, it's going to stay that way. So whether your spouse gets rich or becomes poor after the divorce, that's not going to change your asset and debt division. It could change your modifiable maintenance and child support. My advice would be, if you find yourself in those circumstances, contact your family law attorney and ask them what they think you should do.